Hello, and welcome to Love, Light, and Healing with Colette Lopane Capella. I am Colette Lopane Capella, a licensed mental health counselor, Reiki practitioner, EMDR therapist, and healer. I am founder and director of New Day Vitality, located in Larchmont, New York, where we provide a holistic, alternative approach to psychotherapy and counseling. We offer individual, couples, group, and family therapy, as well as Reiki energy healing and EMDR therapy. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to bring this show to the public and the beautiful community of Larchmont and Mamaroneck. A little bit about me. I'm a wife, a fur mommy, an entrepreneur, and a true healer at heart. I've been practicing for many years and have had the profound honor of being a part of so many beautiful journeys to wellness and helping individuals live and be the best versions of themselves, mind, body, and spirit. This show is to bring together the mind, body, and spirit through love and light, wellness, and healing. This show will be informative, helpful, and fun. So sit back and relax and enjoy all the beauty this show will offer you. Each episode, we will bring on an expert guest to discuss important topics that bridge the mind, body, and spirit, and the beauty of when it's all tied together. Experts will vary from energy healers, teachers, nurses, crystal healers, psychiatrists, doctors, therapists, psychologists, psychics, mediums, yogis, and all healers or light workers, as I like to call us. On today's episode, Lisa Salvatore, intuitive reader, energy healer, and wellness coach, is here tonight. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Colette.
Thank you. Thank you for being a part of the show. I'm excited and honored to have you a part of this amazing opportunity and the wellness to our viewers. So we're just going to jump in and get started. Okay? So tell the audience a little bit about you, who you are, and what you do.
I am a holistic health and wellness coach, and I teach and read tarot cards, and I also intuit astrology charts, which I call the mapping of the soul, which
that's cool.
Helps people to recognize and bring some things that are unaware to awareness and helping them to fix or look at things from a different perspective. It's mind, body, soul coaching. That's basically what it is.
I love that. I love that. And in general, like, what do people usually see you for?
Honestly, most people come in because they want to talk about what is my purpose, what's going on in my love life, and what's going on with my career. Those are the three main issues, and they usually they leave with a whole lot more than that.
I was going to say,
because it's always what you need to know. It's not always what you want to know.
Yeah.
But
not necessarily what you want, but what you need to hear.
Exactly.
Perfect. And so how, big question here, but how do you define an intuitive reader? How do you define?
So I would imagine anybody that does this work we're all intuitive. Yeah. So it's just a matter of tapping into it and using it to the best of your abilities, just like everybody has a voice, but not everybody's a singer. So you can equate it to that. But it's all about the person that you're dealing with. So you sit with somebody and you open up the dialogue, you get a feel for who they are, and you feel their energy, and you just start talking. And then from there, we go into a session. Sometimes we use tarot cards, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're doing an astrology chart. Sometimes we're just doing Reiki. It really depends. Everybody's session is different, depending on what that person needs in that moment when they come to see me.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. And so what kind of messages do you typically obtain? I'm going to sort of share this with everyone, opening up personally about me, that I recall the first time that we met, instantly you identified myself as an empath, and as I know you are too, and picked up on my mother's energy and the date November 8th, and I don't really mind sharing this because it was such a powerful experience and so profound, and you really are just so amazing.
Thank you.
Of what you do. So to just sit down with someone and someone's like, hey, this, and this was just amazing. And so I'm sure the viewers also kind of want to hear, how do you obtain these messages? Because I know that I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly, because I told you this before, that there's usually 4 major intuitive abilities, right? We have the clairvoyance, right? We have the clairsentience, there we go, which is like the clear feeling, right? The ability to receive emotions or physical feeling, clairaudience, which is like the
clear hearing.
Clear hearing, there we go. And then the last one, I had to write these down to get these all right. And the claircognizance, right, is the clear knowing.
Yes. Claircognizance. Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go. Can't even pronounce it. So how do you obtain your messages?
Well, for as long as I can remember, the claircognizance for me has been the biggest because it's just like and a lot of people can relate to this, I'm sure, a knowing that goes beyond logic. So it's just knowing things, like someone is sitting in front of you and they're putting up this front of, I'm tough, I'm strong, everything's great in my life. Meanwhile, you're looking at them and you're kind of seeing right into their soul and you're like, no, something's going on here.
Something's happening.
It's deeper than that. So that's probably the strongest. I do feel a lot when I'm sitting with somebody. So if, and I believe that happened with you and
That's exactly what happened.
In regards to your mother, I felt a lot. It's you feel these sensations in your body. You feel the heart, you feel the head, you feel things, and you just know, okay, that's not mine. This is for this person.
Wow.
Those are probably my two strongest, and I have an uncanny ability with names. So I don't know why, but I always get names. So yeah, so that's pretty much.
Because I remember when we sat there, it was like the first time we met, right? And it was really powerful because I remember being like, wow. Like, and you're very reserved at times with that. And I'm like,
I hear that a lot. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, like just to be able to get the date and like the energy and all this stuff, it was super powerful. And something I think even that whether I knew it or not, like you say, it's not necessarily what we want to hear, what we need to hear.
Right.
I needed to hear in that moment.
Well, it's all about being open. So if someone, and believe it or not, you would think if somebody were to seek me out, they would be open to what I have to say. But a lot of people come in and they're like this, they don't want to, it's like, read me. They don't want to open themselves to you. And I will stop the session right there and say, you need to stop doing that because you're closing the flow. It's not, I don't respond well to that. I instantly shut down. That's my trigger. So for me, it's don't come in here if you're not open to this, then don't bother because it's not going to do you any good.
Yeah.
It's a waste of energy.
Oh, so that makes sense. So when you me, I'm really open, right? So you
yes,
you're
like,
totally open.
This. It's easy because I'm very conscious of boundaries. So I'm not going to sit with a stranger who's not in a session with me. Like say I'm on the street and I'm talking to someone. I'm not going to sit there and start reading them because to me, that's intrusive. I wouldn't want to do that to somebody. Like other people have done that to me personally, and I don't always like that. So you have to be respectful of that. But if there are things that someone needs to hear, like for you that day, I felt that I knew you needed to hear those things. It wasn't even a question. It was very, it flowed.
Yes.
But you're open. So that's the difference. Not everybody is. And you have to be respectful of that.
I didn't ask this in the beginning, but how long have you had this really powerful special gift?
My whole life.
Really?
My whole life, yeah. But you don't always own it or realize it or recognize it for what it is until you really have time to process and be your own person. And then once you start to acknowledge and open up about it, that's when it all comes into play.
I see. Okay. So it's funny because you had just sort of mentioned that, and I was going to ask you this question too because I thought the audience might kind of have this question. So sometimes when you watch like the Long Island Medium, right, and all those fun shows, you see her out and she's like, hey, I have a message for you. I want to give you this. That was going to be my next question. Like, do you ever obtain messages when you're out, like perhaps in a store, and a client is not seeing you in the office? Like, how do you react? Do you share? It's interesting because I know, like, you are the real deal. I mean, even based on my personal experience with you. So it's such a gift and you're so authentic and humble about it. But if you're out and someone's saying, like, you're getting a message, like kind of how you did with me. I guess it's sort of if that person's open, you're going to share. But how do you maybe even like turn it off when it's like, I don't know if this is a message I should be sharing. And out in public or in a restaurant or in a grocery store. I'm sure that happens.
It does. I never do it in front of people. I'll never say it to someone in front of somebody else because to me that's a boundary thing. You don't do that. So I usually I can tell when someone's open to it. I don't always do it. Sometimes I feel like it's not necessary.
Okay.
And I'll leave it be. But sometimes you feel like it is necessary and it's something somebody needs to hear. So a lot of my close friendships at this point in my life have actually started that way. Saying something to someone, they're like, how did you know that? And how did you know? So it's...
And people probably react in like different ways, but most people are probably usually like first in shock and then just like so grateful that you're...
It goes both ways. Sometimes you get that and sometimes you get the standoffish, don't come too close, and then you leave it be and you keep it moving.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah, and usually I wouldn't approach somebody like that in the first place because you can normally tell. You can tell.
Yeah, you can totally sense that. I know you're also, by the way, she has the most amazing blogs, and every time there's a new moon and a full moon, send out like the most amazing scripts for the rituals and what's coming about. But I know you're kind of that expert on the new moon, full moon stuff. And I usually always do like full moon, new moon rituals. I have my own kind of thing, writing my intentions, burning them, charging my crystals. But what would you share on a new moon or a full moon ritual, and tell maybe the audience a little bit more about the moons and maybe what's the new moon that's coming, what can be expected, because they're very powerful and they really shift you in a lot of ways.
They are. And okay, so the moon is a cycle, right?
Okay.
Think about it. It rules the feminine cycle. It's 28 days.
Oh.
The new moon is always the time when the moon starts its phase through the next 28-day cycle to get to the full moon.
Okay.
Now, with new moons, it's all about, it's new. It's about fresh intentions, manifestations, starts, planting seeds. Even farmers back in the day tended to their crops according to the moon cycles because of the tide and the pull. And the moon in astrology does rule the emotional body. So it's who you truly are at the soul level instinctually. It's not about like, hey, I'm a Cancer, or hey, I'm an Aquarius. It's not that. The moon is your soul. It's what people don't see, but it's who you truly are. So anyway, the moon's very powerful. And you will even notice, especially around the times of full moons, people do get a little, more, I don't want to use the word crazy, but lunacy, it's all connected. People tend to get more charged because it's literally surges of energy. That's what the moon is. And depending on what sign the moon is in, that energy is going to vary each time. And then the planetary aspects, it's always different. That's why I like to talk about it, because there's themes. And you'll notice it when you start to really pay attention to it.
Oh, when I read your stuff, I'm like...
I get a lot of emails. Oh my gosh, I'm a Gemini. No wonder why I feel so crazy.
Yes.
Because you wouldn't, awareness is the key.
Yes.
So
it's funny because many years back I read a study that when people say like, oh, the full moon, everything kind of gets a little hectic or chaotic, right? And there was a study that showed that in emergency rooms, during that time is when they were actually the most busiest, and they were getting some of the most bizarre cases during a full moon.
What happens is the energy builds up in your body. And so that can cause anxiety attacks. That could feel like literal heart attacks. It could actually cause, I'm not saying that the full moon causes heart attacks, but the energy surge can,
Well, it's probably so emotionally charged, right? Because you're saying it's internal. That makes sense.
It's a pull. It's, it's very...
So awesome. So anybody who is interested on the new moon and the full moon stuff, you got to follow Lisa. It's really good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you're also really wonderful and an expert with astrology. So can you share a little bit more with the viewers and like what astrology is? I know because when we sat down, you were like, I've heard it before. I don't know a lot about it, but you were like in your 11th house, and I was like, I don't know what that means.
I know.
But it was right on point.
So, well, first, let me just clarify. I'm not an astrology expert in the terms of worldly astrology. I'm personal astrology. So I basically do the mapping of the soul for a person. So based on your exact birth time and location of birth, there's basically a snapshot of the sky at that moment, and that's you. And it's really interesting because a birth chart will not be duplicated for 25,000 years, literally, because of the way that the planets are constantly moving.
Oh my gosh.
So you and I can be born the exact same time in two different parts of the world, and our rising sign is going to be different, so we're going to be very different people. We're not going to be the same exact person. So then there's 12 houses, and all these planets fall in different houses, and then there's all different planets that make up who you are. There's planets that rule what you look like. There's planets that rule your love. There's planets, so it's very, very involved.
Yes.
And when you can't, that's why you can't just say, hey, I'm a Taurus, because it's not, it goes much deeper than that. But if you don't know, then you don't know. So obviously someone like me or other astrologers will pull up your chart and will tell you what's going on, and it does hit you at the soul level. Even if you don't know how to explain it, you'll feel it. Yeah. And that's the point.
I was going to say, so how do people usually react, like how I reacted? Like
very positively.
Like I was like, whoa, that's me to a T. Like it was pretty amazing.
Well, it's not written in stone. I always tell people that. There's free will. So this is your makeup. This is who you are. There are going to be areas in your life where you're going to have more challenges. And then there's going to be areas in your life that will flow more harmoniously. But that doesn't mean you're doomed. It just means you learn to work with that energy differently. But if you don't know, then how can you work with it?
How could you work through it? Work through it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So awesome. So interesting. So we kind of talked a little bit about this before initially, but good question is, does everyone have intuitive or psychic ability? Does everybody have this intuitive ability?
I believe so, yes. Okay. I mean, yes, they do. But like I said earlier, it's like we all have a set of eyes. We all have different, but not everyone is tapped into certain areas, and it's very real, especially when you look at an astrology chart. There are water houses, which houses the intuition, the intuitive abilities. Air houses house more logic. So you can have someone who's extremely creative, will be mostly water. You'll have someone who's very technical, they'll be mostly air. So it's
So like the right brain and left brain differences
totally,
too?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
And so if somebody says like, okay, I feel like I am intuitive, right? Or they've done things before that's really acknowledged that, how would they embrace like this intuitive ability? Where would someone even start?
The first thing you have to do is to quiet your mind, because that is the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, nature's huge. Like I love to be outside by myself and in my own, that helps a lot with clearing your energy, keeping yourself in a good space, so you're able to receive and trust what you're getting on the soul level. We don't always honor that.
Sure.
Think about all the times you've probably said to yourself, I knew that I shouldn't have done that, but I did it anyway. And look at how it turned out, because you ignored that, the gut, the soul.
Well, that gut well, you knew.
We all have that.
Yes.
We all have that. And once you learn to trust that more and just get more quiet, you have the answers inside of you. I tell all my clients that. I'm just helping you get to what you already know.
Yeah. I think that a lot of that too even has to do with like so in therapy I really sort of specialize in like self-esteem, self-confidence, empowerment, and like trusting that inner self, that inner voice, that gut. I mean that's who you are, and just being authentic with it and letting it flow, and how things sort of happen so differently when you allow yourself to trust that inner voice that's saying, okay, like this is what you should be doing, not. Because I think a lot of times what happens even with society and peer pressure and all this stuff, especially for adolescents, right, that they kind of get stuck and they're not trusting that intuitive inner self, where it's just so helpful and informative to know, you know, what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. So I think that totally ties in together.
It's an ongoing journey.
Yeah.
Of finding yourself.
Yeah.
Because we all want to be, at the end of the day, we all want to be accepted for who we truly are. But if you don't really know who you truly are, you're still trying to figure that out, how can other people receive who you are?
Yeah, you have to
meet you at that level.
Exactly. So what are the greatest gifts that and I'm sure there's been so many gifts that clients have received from you, but what are the greatest gifts from the profound work that you've done? And you don't have to share names or anything, but
no, I would never.
Yeah, we can do that. But something that someone has said to you that, like, through the profound work that you've done, that they've gotten from.
One of the more recent ones I received was a comment. I actually blogged about it from a woman. I worked an event, and she was one of 8 people that I had read for that night. And when I went to leave, I went to say goodbye, and 3 of them were crying. I'm like, oh no, I made people cry again. But in a good way. And she actually said to me when I was leaving, thank you for ruining my life in the best way possible. Can I give you a hug? And I said, of course, because a lot had come up that she was burying that she didn't talk about. And so I kind of pulled it out of her, and it brought up healing for her. And that's what she needed. So that's really the point. It's not, yeah, you're going to sit with me, and yes, you're a lot of times going to get some things that are coming up to be aware of, that I see or that I'm getting. But that's not really the point of it. The point of it is to talk about the now and where you are on your journey, and how can we get you to where you want to be. Or where are you stuck?
Yeah.
Or, that's...
And like how, and where are you stuck, and how are you going to move forward from it? How are you going to get unstuck? That is so awesome. So that must have been really powerful when she comes up to you and says that, and you're just like...
I get a lot of hugs, I have to say. People are like, can I give you a hug?
Many hugs,
sure.
Right? Yeah. People are probably so grateful. I mean, because it's literally healing work.
And it's healing for me to know that I'm healing them, or helping them to heal, I should say. Not that I'm healing them, but helping them.
Helping them on their journey.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so awesome. So what are some things or some signs? So I often do this. I'm always picking up on signs. So I always say to people, like, a sign of an angel might be that, or if an angel's near us, or if a loved one who's passed over, maybe their physical form's not here, they're here because you might see a butterfly, or you might catch the glimpse of a star that's just totally sparkling up in the, and you're just like, oh, that's that person. What are some signs that that yourself might notice, or that you might have shared with people before, that there might be like an angel or a soul or a loved one that's passed by nearby?
Feathers are a big one.
Feathers.
But I'm not talking about, I want to be clear, you could be at the beach and there's always feathers of seagulls lying around. You see, that's not the feather I'm talking about. I'm talking about the feathers that appear out of nowhere, the little white fluffy ones that you just can't find a logical explanation for why they're there. I'm sure most people have had that experience, random. Pennies are another one.
I've heard that too,
Ladybugs.
I've heard ladybugs too.
Cardinals, there's a bunch. But again, it's dependent on the person. You can ask for specific signs from people, and they likely will comply as long as it's nothing outrageous. Like, they usually will give you the
They'll
signs
give
you
you-
ask for.
And I noticed, so I always say, my nanny who passed away, she loved birds, loved red birds, bluebirds, all of them. So every time I ask her for a sign or I see a red bird or a bluebird, I'm just like, hi, like that's kind of like my angel in disguise.
So see, you have yours.
Yeah. Have people shared that with you before?
Yes.
That they kind of have like this particular sign that
Yes.
they, What's one that maybe you can give an example of?
For myself personally,
Yeah.
I was 2 weeks ago. I was hiking, and it was actually my grandmother's birthday, November 17th. And I was thinking about her, and I said, "Oh, and I didn't even ask for a sign, but I was thinking about her." And my friend and I were climbing down the rocks, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, look at your leg!" There was a big yellow ladybug right smack in the center of my pants, and it was. I knew right in that moment that it was her. It was her way of just, because yellow ladybugs are also representative of an older soul. And so to me, it was really representing her in that moment.
So
it was
yellow
cool.
ladybugs are old. Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
So did you say like, hey, what's going on?
Of course.
Right? And you acknowledge.
I feel her a lot. Like, she's one of my, I always feel her.
I love that. Maybe like a spirit guide or something.
Totally.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so this is some fun stuff too that we can talk a little bit about.
Okay.
How about like twin flames, soulmates? Then I read your blog not that long ago about this. The 1111, all of this stuff, and it's just really, really fun stuff. I always say there's that free will concept with the twin flames and the soulmates, but even like the number signs, talking about signs anyway. What could you share about maybe some of those concepts?
So, well, first of all, that's such a loaded question.
I know, it's a big
I don't
one.
buy into a lot of labels. I just feel
Okay.
like you have to go with what you feel. And all of those terms just translate into important relationships. And that doesn't mean they have to take shape in physical form. It could just be someone who catalyzes you by just walking into your life. You can meet them once and they say something to you that sticks to you and you change your life after that day. It could be anything. I guess what I would say is you just have to trust what you feel. And when you talk to people about it that are not, how do I say this properly? I would say like awakened to the spiritual side, if they don't want to think about it or it's too much for them. You can't talk to them about things like twin flames, soulmates, karma, because they'll think you're crazy. And they're not going to get that level of what you're trying to explain. So you have to just feel it and honor it in your own way and not worry about labeling it.
Yeah, that makes. Yeah, and I think because sometimes that people get stuck on these labels, like it's well, this person's a twin flame, right? So I'm supposed to be with them.
That drives me crazy.
And and I'll say no. Like sometimes your twin flame's just there to teach you a valuable lesson, right? We always have free will, so it doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily end up with this person, right? But they're going to play such an important role in your life, and you becoming the best version of yourself, or who that person's supposed to be. When I went to Sedona, Arizona for the spiritual retreat, I met a lot of people there, and it's funny because as soon as you said that, I thought of it that it might be not someone that you know, that you talk to all the time, somebody you meet once, and they just leave this powerful like awe moment upon you. Where I met so many beautiful souls that it was like every single interaction was kind of like, wow, like part of a spiritual tribe or like group or something, because it was almost like we just got it, and we just meshed so well, and it was so powerful and so beautiful to be a part of this group. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
And you're likely a person for other people as well. Like we're sitting here saying about how people impact us, but think about how you impact other people too. You may not ever even know it.
That's a really nice compliment. Thank you. It's funny because the person that I went with too, she said that afterwards. I said, this is so amazing. I feel like I'm being so touched by everybody here. Like I literally was holding hands, hugging people. I mean, you know me. I was like, can you just sit here and hold my hand kind of thing with people? And she said afterwards, she's like, Colette, you are such a powerful healer. And I was like, and I just started crying. I'm like, why did you? She's like, you don't realize when you were in the room with the people, the stuff that you were getting, they were also getting from you. And I was like, so humble. Like I was so grateful. And she said, and I just started bawling, crying. And I was like, thank you, because it was so beautiful to hear, so humbling. Okay, so if you had to choose, this is my big, big, big loaded question, by the way. If you had to choose one piece of advice for this generation, what would that be? Big question.
It is a big question. Oh, jeez. I would say to not focus so much on the outside, because there's so much going on outside of us every day. There's constant pulls on our attention, emails, Instagram, everything's instant gratification,
All the time.
and we're so wrapped up in what we look like and what we're doing, and we forget to go here and to go within. So my biggest piece of advice would be work on the inside, and everything else ripples to the outside. You can't control what goes on outside of you. You control what goes on in here.
Oh, I love it. That's
and follow
really-
your heart, because
Yes.
you know, when you don't, that's when you end up
That is
where you
the-
don't want to be.
Exactly, and that is like one of the best pieces of advice, right? Like just follow your intuition.
It
Follow
sounds a
your
lot easier than it is, you know, even for my
Yeah,
own self. I'm
yeah.
not sitting here saying I've always done the right thing, but it's helpful to try at least to always go
Yeah.
here first.
Yeah, to follow what's inside, what
Yep.
you need, yeah. I think it goes back to what we said just from the very beginning, right? It's not necessarily what you think, what you
Right.
want, it's what you need.
Exactly.
And when you follow that, it's the same concept.
Right. And even if you don't get the results you were necessarily hoping for, looking for, striving for, you're going to get what you need. And that could just be a lesson
Exactly.
for the future.
Exactly, a big lesson. So how can you share with the audience how they can get in touch with you or reach out to you?
Sure. Email's the best way. It's info@lisasalvatore.com, or they can call 914-205-4500 and leave a message. That's pretty much it. My website's lisasalvatore.com. You can sign up for my blog there, my newsletter.
Which is amazing.
Thank you.
So we're actually going to continue this. We're going to have another episode with Lisa because this is so exciting and follow up with this fun conversation. So we hope you tune in to next time. And I want to thank you
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being a part of today's episode.
You're
You
very
really
welcome.
are absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, as are you.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you also to our beautiful audience. We're privileged and honored to have you a part of the show today. And my favorite line, until next time, love and light to all. Namaste.